Okay, good Tavach, everyone. We begin by reading the footnote in Klal Daled, Sif Yud Aleph. Klal Daled, Sif Yud Aleph. So this is yesterday's, still Friday's limud, where the Chofetz Chaim said that in order to properly ask questions regarding Shidduchim, it is necessary to tell the person, by the way, I'm not just asking out of curiosity, but I need to know for Shidduchim. And the Chofetz Chaim in the footnote addresses a question that many may have or probably have, that if I'm required to tell the person that I'm asking for Shidduchim, I'm not going to get the juice. If I say I'm just asking in general, then I'll get the full story. If I'm asking about a bachar, tell me, it was this boy was read to my daughter, what do you think? The guy's going to say, I think he's the next Gadol Hadar. He, in terms of lamdos, he's the biggest lamdan in the generation. In terms of midos, he's the biggest Baal midos in the history of Klal Yisrael. In terms of Yiras Shamayim, no words have been described to be able to assess his Yiras Shamayim. But if I say, by the way, what do you think of Pliny? He's worse than a bum. And you're not going to hear that unless you go undercover. So, the Chofetz Chaim addresses this in a footnote. The reader should not respond to me. This is something very difficult to abide by. If the questioner mentions that this is relevant, he's not going to want to respond. I will respond, says the Chofetz Chaim. Let's say that would be so. Let's say the only way to get the juice is to go undercover. You're allowed to be machshel someone in Avera, stick out a cup of wine to a nazir because you want to make money, or some benefit. Likewise, regarding this topic in our area, Lashon Harah is not worse than other Yisurim, because you're going to benefit, you're allowed to cause someone to do an Avera. The lav of lifnei iver we've already mentioned is even if you don't want your friend to do an iser. Even if you don't want your friend to sin, but just preparing it for him, you're over on this lav. However, says the Chofetz Chaim, the truth is, you could get very good, relevant, effective information even if you tell the person it's nagea for a shidduch. And this is how he formulated it. The truth is, we don't need this. When you come to your friend, you say, Achi, my brother, tell me something that I want to ask of you. Do me a favor, I don't want you exaggerating. Just say to me, tell me as it is. You will not be violating an isser if you reveal it to me. Because both of our intention, is for a benefit, and not to shame anyone. I promise you, I will not breathe a word. Do me a favor, I'm counting on you. This is nagea mi. I don't want you to exaggerate, and I don't want you to underestimate. I won't tell anyone. Please help me out. And then you set forth the matter. He'll give it to you straight. Most people are nichshal b'amnaseinu rabbim be'inyan shidduch v'chadoyma sheroitzim leida eza etzem mahusa shel mishtatif imam. This is what people do. They want to know exactly what this girl or what this boy is all about. V'roitzim lidrosh v'lachkar. So when they want to do their Jewish v'chakira, they make believe that it's not noigeya them. Hey misnakrim, they make themselves like spies. V'oisin atzman, and they make themselves ki'ilu ein noigeya lahem mizeh shemetz davar, as if this is not relevant to them at all. V'oisin b'zeh iser, they do a prohibition. Shemavian es chavireim l'lashon hara, they bring their friends to lashon hara. V'oid yoiser oisin, furthermore, she'in maschilin lishal amish haroitzin l'shtatef imai. Here's how they do it. They start the questioning by asking about Rachel and Leah and Sprinza and Baila, and then they get to the girl that they want to ask about as if she's only in Agavorch. In other words, they ask so many questions about so many people, so that they feel they're going to get the real scoop because you don't know who they're really asking about. It's also that the person they're asking doesn't understand that they have an interest here. By doing it the way they do it, they cause the person to speak Lashon about many people. That no benefit comes from this. Therefore, you have to do what I mentioned. But regarding the actual halacha, how to answer, and when to answer, that will be explained later on. Likewise, it happens many times. Somebody wants to find out about their son or their relative that's living in another city. Their situation. And amongst, they ask, they want to know, how's my son doing? How's his job? How's his family? Is he learning anything? Here's a halacha. Why do you want to find out if your relative is learning? Because if he's not learning, you're going to go and give him a call and explain to him exactly what he should do. Okay, so then you're asking the tayelas. If you want to know, right? You have a second cousin. So you want to know, is he learning or he never cracks open a sefer? Why do you want to know? Because if he doesn't crack open a sefer, you're going to call him and you can start learning with him the Nefesh HaChaim? Or Stam, you're a Yenta Ba'alma. Oh, you're a Yenta? You're not allowed to ask that question. Bevadei mutter, then that is, Im daita b'she'ilasa, if your intent in your question is to help your friend for the future or your relative in the future, that if you would know that he stopped learning, you'll encourage him. It's permitted and correct. And the person you ask has to respond in truth. Because we find this in Erchen. Many times, Laka Akiva al Yadei. Many times Rabbi Akiva was hit by his Rebbe, who found out that he wasn't learning the way he should have. As long as the questioner notifies the person he's asking at first, Shehu Kroiva, he says, look, you have to tell the guy you're his relative. You want to know the truth. By doing so, you are saving yourself from Lashon Harah on the person responding. In other words, the responder will not be over Lashon Harah, and the questioner will not be over Lifnei Ivar. V'Lifnei Ivar min hashayal. Aval mashe regilin ha'olam. But the common practice, if somebody moves to a new city, when you see someone, a landsman from the first city, you start asking, no, how's Aberbach, how's Bronstein, how's Chaimowitz, how's Davidowitz, and you go through the whole, every single person who you remember from the original city. Especially about what they're up to, whether they're up to good or bad, and you want to ask about the Balei Torah, Asher Hayu Lefanov, are they still learning, or they went off the derech? By the way, you see from here in times of the Chofetz Chaim how common it was for people to go off the derech. Because the Chofetz Chaim says, when you leave one city, the first thing you're going to want to know, did he go off the derech? Did he go off the derech? We wouldn't even though we're familiar with the phenomenon, that's not something would come first to our mind. But you see in the times of the Chofetz Chaim, where the Chofetz Chaim writes elsewhere, Ein bayis asher ein shameis, it was how common it was. So then, Uvasipur kazen, in such a conversation, ain't shum heter me'heter anal. All the above mentioned heterim do not apply. Ki ashoyo, the questioner, ein kavanasa kedei she'elech achar kach v'yachiachas an shiur ha'yishena. His intent is not to go reprimand the people of the original city. Uvafrad hameshavlai, especially the responder. Bevadei ein kavanasa lezeh. That's not his kavana. V'sipur kazen, such a conversation, huma oira v'lashon harah me'rosh v'yat soifai, is mixed with lashon harah from beginning to end. Because the guy's asking about every single person in the city. And this person you're asking, he has the exact way to shots up each and every guy. This guy is a bum, this guy's not even a bum, this guy is a little bit above the madreg of a bum, this guy thinks he's a Talmid Chacham, but he wouldn't even know what a Talmid Chacham was if he bumped him straight into him. He has a way to shots up every single guy. So you're over lifnei iver and he's over lashon hara. Habenor elamala me psicha kama lavin v'asin over. Look back up in the psicha how many lavin and asin one violates kishem masapra and mekabel lashon hara. If somebody speaks or accepts lashon hara, alecha me Yisrael, about another Jew uvefrat ba'asipra hanal, especially in the above mentioned conversation, call Yisrabu Anashim Be'ir, the more people you talk about, V'Yisrabe HaSipur, the longer you talk, Yirbu Halavin Va'asin, the more Lavin and Asin you violate, Alav V'Al Kol Echad V'Echad, regarding each and every one, Yitztarch Litein Din V'Cheshbon, you're going to have to give a calculation. Al Kain, therefore, Hashoimer, Navshoy, Yirchak, Mizeh Ad Moed, if you want to guard your soul, you'll distance yourself very much. You want to find out about a business partner, you want to find out about a shidduch, you call the guy, you say, listen, I'm asking you, this is noigei on me. Tell me straight. Don't exaggerate, don't underestimate. If you exaggerate, you could shter a shidduch. If you underestimate, you could ruin people's life. I'm expecting you to lay it on straight. I trust you. He's going to tell you the truth. You're going to get the information you need. Okay, this is still footnote, a remnant of Friday.
Record